"Who's this woman with you?" One of the guests asked. "She's just a volunteer," Marcus replied in front of everyone, but before Amara could respond, the MC's voice boomed through the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our host and chief sponsor, Mrs. Amara Okonkwo." Marcus's jaw dropped as his simple housewife walked onto the stage in a designer gown, commanding 500 business elites like a queen. And what happened next will shock you. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our dramatic stories. And to my loyal family who've been rocking with us, drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. The morning had started like any other Thursday in the Okonkwo household. Marcus stood before the full-length mirror in their bedroom, adjusting his Italian silk tie with the precision of a man who believed presentation was everything. His reflection pleased him. At 42, he still had the sharp jawline and commanding presence that made junior executives straighten their spines when he entered a room. "Amara!" he called out, his voice carrying the casual authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "Where's my navy blazer? The one with the gold buttons?" From somewhere in the depths of their 5-bedroom mansion in Ikoyi, his wife's soft voice floated back. "In the closet, dear. Left side, third hanger." Marcus found it exactly where she said. Of course she knew. Amara knew everything about running their home, managing his schedule, ensuring his life flowed smoothly. That was her job, wasn't it? He'd always thought so. She appeared in the doorway moments later, carrying a tray with his preferred breakfast: toast, scrambled eggs, fresh orange juice. Her wrapper was tied simply around her waist, her headscarf plain and unremarkable. No makeup, no jewelry. Just Amara, his wife of 5 years, looking exactly as she had every morning since their wedding. "Big day today," she said quietly, setting the tray on the side table. "The annual trade gala." Marcus grunted, forking eggs into his mouth. "Biggest networking event of the year. I've got 3 potential investors lined up, and the Minister of Commerce will be there." He paused, eyeing her thoughtfully. "You know, they're looking for volunteers. Decorations, guest coordination, that sort of thing. You should go. Get out of the house for once." Amara's lips curved into a small smile. "I'd like that." "Good. I'll have Davidson add your name to the volunteer list." Marcus stood, brushing invisible crumbs from his blazer. "Just don't embarrass me, yeah? These are serious people, business titans, government officials. Stay in the background, help where you're needed, and we'll celebrate tonight after I close the Adamola deal." "Of course, Marcus." He kissed her forehead absently, already mentally rehearsing his elevator pitch, and swept out of the room. He didn't notice the way Amara's smile deepened after he left. He didn't see her pull out her phone and send a single text message. He took the bait. Proceed with the plan. The grand ballroom of the Oriental Hotel sparkled like a jewel box that evening. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing light across marble floors. Ice sculptures stood sentinel at every corner. The who's who of Lagos business society glided through the space in designer agbadas and elegant gowns, their laughter mixing with the soft jazz quartet playing near the champagne fountain. Marcus arrived fashionably late, flanked by his business partner Davidson and 2 junior associates. He worked the room like a politician, shaking hands, exchanging business cards, dropping carefully rehearsed compliments. "Marcus, good to see you." Senator Adebayo clapped him on the shoulder. "I hear your logistics company is expanding into the Eastern Corridor." "Indeed, Senator. We're projecting 30% growth this quarter." Marcus accepted a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. "All part of the vision." "And your wife? Will we meet her tonight?" Marcus waved dismissively. "Oh, Amara's here somewhere, volunteering with the decorations, I think. You know how women like to keep busy." He chuckled, and several men around him joined in with knowing laughter. What Marcus didn't notice was the way Senator Adebayo's eyebrows rose sharply, or how Davidson suddenly became very interested in his champagne glass, or how several of the decorating volunteers exchanged glances and whispered urgently into their earpieces. The evening progressed. Marcus made his rounds, collected promises of meetings, and basked in the attention his recent success had earned him. His company, Okonkwo Logistics, had indeed grown rapidly over the past 3 years. New contracts, new offices, new respect. He never questioned why the contracts always came through at the last minute. Never wondered why investors who initially declined would suddenly call back with renewed interest. Never thought to ask who the anonymous benefactor was that had cleared his company's crippling debt 2 years ago. Marcus simply believed he was brilliant. At 8 o'clock sharp, the lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the stage at the far end of the ballroom. The MC, a well-known media personality named Kemi, stepped up to the microphone in a stunning gold gown. Good evening, Lagos. Her voice commanded instant silence. Welcome to the 15th Annual Trade Gala, where we celebrate excellence, innovation, and the leaders shaping our nation's economic future. Applause rippled through the crowd. Marcus positioned himself near the front, ready to be acknowledged when they announced the major sponsors. This year, Kemi continued, we have someone very special hosting our event, a woman whose quiet generosity has transformed lives across West Africa, a visionary who proved that true power doesn't announce itself, it simply changes the world. Marcus leaned toward Davidson. Wonder who they got this year. Last year it was that oil magnate. What was his name? Davidson didn't answer. His face had gone pale. Ladies and gentlemen, Kemi's voice rose with dramatic flair. Please welcome our host and chief sponsor, the CEO of Zenith Holdings and tonight's Woman of Honor, Mrs. Amara Okonkwo. The ballroom erupted in applause. Marcus felt his champagne glass slip from his fingers. From the side entrance, bathed in golden light, walked Amara. But not the Amara he'd left at home. This woman wore a custom-made emerald gown that caught the light like liquid fire. Diamonds glittered at her throat and wrists. Her natural hair was styled in an elegant updo that showcased the regal line of her neck. She moved across that stage with the confidence of someone who owned not just the room, but the entire building. And perhaps she did. The applause grew louder as Amara reached the microphone. She smiled, not the quiet, submissive smile Marcus knew, but a radiant expression of power and purpose. Thank you all for being here tonight, she began, her voice clear and commanding. 5 years ago, I made a decision to step back from the spotlight and observe the world from a different angle. Tonight, I step back into my truth. Marcus couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Around him, business leaders he'd been trying to impress all evening surged forward, calling out greetings to his wife. His wife, the woman he'd sent to volunteer with decorations. Senator Adebayo appeared at his elbow. You're a lucky man, Marcus. Amara Okonkwo is a legend in international finance. My entire campaign was funded by her foundation. The senator's smile didn't reach his eyes. But then you knew that, being her husband and all. Marcus's world tilted on its axis. On stage, Amara caught his eye across the crowded room. For just a moment, their gazes locked. And in that moment, Marcus saw something that chilled him to his core. His wife, the woman he thought he knew, was a complete stranger. The ride home happened in suffocating silence. Marcus gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Beside him, Amara sat with perfect composure, her designer gown replaced by a simple dress, her jewelry carefully tucked away in a velvet box on her lap. She'd transformed back into his wife, but Marcus now knew it was just another costume. When were you planning to tell me? His voice cracked the silence like breaking glass. Amara gazed out the window at the Lagos night rushing past. Tell you what exactly? Don't play games with me. Marcus swerved slightly, earning an angry horn from another driver. Zenith Holdings, CEO, chief sponsor? That woman on stage, who is she? She's me, Marcus. She's always been me. He laughed bitterly. The woman I married sold vegetables in Balogun Market. You had nothing. I saved you from poverty, gave you this life. I was never a vegetable seller. Amara's voice remained calm, but something dangerous flickered in her eyes. I was conducting research, seeing how the other half lives, studying the market dynamics from ground level. She turned to face him fully. You saw what you wanted to see, a damsel in distress, someone beneath you who would be grateful for your rescue. Marcus pulled into their driveway too fast, tires screeching. They sat in the darkened car, the engine ticking as it cooled. 5 years, he whispered. 5 years of marriage. Was any of it real? Amara gathered her belongings and stepped out of the car. Come inside, Marcus. It's time you learned the truth. The living room felt different now. Marcus looked at the expensive furniture, the imported art on the walls, the smart home system. Had Amara paid for all of this? His success, his achievements, his empire. How much of it was actually his? Amara poured herself a glass of wine and settled into the leather armchair. She crossed her legs, every inch the corporate executive. "Sit down. I'll explain everything." Marcus remained standing, arms crossed defensively. "My full name is Amara Nwosu Okonkwo," she began. "I inherited Zenith Holdings from my father when I was 25. By 30, I'd tripled its value. But success came with a price. Men who wanted my money, not my heart. Employees who feared me. A life where I could trust no one." She sipped her wine thoughtfully. "So I decided to step away. I installed a management team, moved to Lagos under a different identity, and lived simply. I wanted to find someone who would love Amara the person, not Amara the billionaire." "And you found me." Marcus's voice dripped with sarcasm. "I found you in Balogun Market. Yes, you were there closing a deal with fabric suppliers. I watched you negotiate, sharp, confident, ambitious. Then I staged our meeting." She smiled sadly. "I pretended to need help with a debt. You offered to pay it, so magnanimous, so sure of your superiority." Marcus felt sick. "I fell in love with your potential, Marcus. Beneath the arrogance, I saw a brilliant businessman. I thought maybe, with time, you'd see me as an equal, a partner." Her voice hardened. "Instead, you made me small. You gave me allowances from the money I secretly deposited into your account. You called me just a housewife at dinner parties. You never once asked about my dreams, my opinions, my life before you." "So this was all a test?" Marcus exploded. "Our entire marriage?" "No. Our marriage was real. My love was real." Amara stood, setting down her wine glass with a sharp click. "But your love was conditional. You loved the idea of me, submissive, grateful, beneath you. The moment I show you who I truly am, you can't handle it." The doorbell chimed. Amara pressed the intercom. "Send her up." Minutes later, a polished woman in a tailored business suit stepped inside. A leather briefcase hung from her arm as she nodded crisply at Amara. "Marcus, this is Chioma, my executive assistant. Chioma, please show Mr. Okonkwo the files." Chioma placed the briefcase on the coffee table and began laying out documents. Bank statements, investment portfolios, contract approvals. Each page carried Amara's signature and her company's seal. "Your logistics firm was collapsing 3 years ago," Chioma said, her tone detached. "You were 2 months from insolvency. Zenith Holdings acquired your debt through a shell entity and refinanced your loans. Every major contract you've celebrated since then, we arranged the introductions. The Ademola deal you're proud of? Mrs. Okonkwo dined with Mrs. Ademola last month and personally recommended your company." Marcus staggered back and dropped onto the sofa. His reality was unraveling. "Why?" he rasped. "Why would you do all this?" "Because I loved you," Amara replied quietly. "I wanted you to succeed. I wanted our marriage to succeed, but I also wanted you to love me for who I am, not for what I could provide. I waited, Marcus. I waited for you to ask about my life, to be curious about my past, to see me as more than an accessory in your home." She removed a folder from Chioma's briefcase and placed it in Marcus's hands. "These are divorce papers. You have until tomorrow evening to decide." Her voice was firm, though her eyes shimmered. "Show me that you married me for love, not convenience. Show me the man I believed you could be, or sign the papers and we go our separate ways. You keep the house, the company, everything. I don't want your thanks or your remorse." Marcus opened the folder, his hands unsteady. The words swam before him. "How am I supposed to prove anything?" he murmured. Amara turned toward the door, Chioma close behind. At the doorway, she paused. "That's for you to discover, Marcus. For once in our marriage, you must truly see me, not as your wife, your helper, your volunteer, but as Amara, the woman you said you loved." The door shut softly. Marcus remained alone in a house that suddenly felt unfamiliar, clutching divorce papers from a woman he realized he had never really known. He didn't sleep. He sat on the leather sofa until dawn poured through the glass walls, the papers spread out like a silent indictment. Every memory from the past 5 years shifted into a sharper, crueler focus. Had he ever asked Amara about her day? Her thoughts? Her dreams before she met him? The answer seared his chest. No, not once. His phone vibrated. Davidson's name glowed on the screen. "You knew," Marcus said when he answered. "You knew all along who she was." Davidson exhaled. "I recognized her at your wedding, brother. Amara Nwosu had been on Forbes Africa 3 years before you met her. I tried to tell you once, remember? You shut me down and said you didn't care about your wife's boring past." Marcus shut his eyes as the memory resurfaced. His arrogance had been effortless. The business world reveres her, Marcus, Davidson continued. When people learned you were married to Amara Nwosu, doors opened, calls were returned, Zenith Holdings shielded you. But you thought it was your charm, your brilliance. You lived in her shadow while believing you cast it. After the call, Marcus stared at his reflection in the hallway mirror. Same face, same tailored clothes. Yet the man looking back felt diminished, exposed. He needed counsel. Honest counsel. He drove to the place he'd avoided for months, his mother's home in Sur-Alaire. Mama Josephine sat on the veranda shelling melon seeds, her glasses resting on her nose. "So my big executive son remembers his mother now," she said without looking up. "Mama, I'm in trouble." Something in his tone made her stop. She examined him, then motioned to the chair beside her. "Sit. Speak." Marcus told her everything. The gala, Amara's disclosure, the divorce papers. As he spoke, his mother's face shifted from concern to understanding, then to judgment. When he finished, she was silent for a long while. "You are a fool," she said at last. "Mama." "A fool. That woman visited me every week for 5 years. Every week, Marcus. She brought gifts, helped with errands, listened to my stories. She asked about my life, your father, my struggles raising you alone." She pointed at him. "Do you know what she never did? She never complained about you. Not once. She protected your image." His eyes burned. "And you?" she went on. "When last did you visit? When last did you ask how I was coping? You sent money? Yes. But love is not money. Amara understood that. You didn't." "How do I fix this, Mama?" She leaned forward. "Tell me 3 things you love about your wife that have nothing to do with her cooking, her beauty, or how she serves you." Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. 5 years of marriage yielded nothing. "Exactly," she said, returning to her seeds. "You cannot repair what you never built. Go home. Think. If you find answers that are real, not rehearsed, not convenient, maybe you still have a chance." That evening, a text arrived from an unfamiliar number. "Meet me at Balogun Market tomorrow. 6 a.m. Come alone. This is your final chance. A." Balogun Market, where they first met, where everything had begun. Marcus set his alarm for 4:30. He didn't know what awaited him, only that he was about to be measured in ways he'd never faced. Lying alone in the vast house, he whispered into the darkness, "I'm sorry." But apologies were worthless. At dawn, he would confront 5 years of blindness. And he wasn't sure he would endure it. The market smelled the same: roasted plantain, fresh fish, diesel, sweat, life. At 6 in the morning, Balogun Market pulsed with activity. Vendors arranged goods, hawkers shouted, buyers bargained. Marcus stood at the entrance in simple clothes, painfully aware of his discomfort. His luxury car was parked far away. He'd learned quickly it didn't belong here. "You came." Amara's voice reached him from behind. She wore a plain Ankara wrapper and blouse, her hair wrapped in a scarf. No makeup, no jewelry. Just Amara, exactly as she had been the day they met. "You asked me to," he said. "I asked you many things over 5 years. You rarely listened." She motioned forward. "Walk with me. There are people you need to meet." They moved through tight passages between stalls. Vendors greeted Amara with warmth, not courtesy. "Auntie Amara?" "Good morning, sister." "Mama Zenith, we are proud of you." Marcus watched as she embraced traders, admired babies, asked about illnesses by name. These people knew her. They stopped at a fabric stall where an elderly woman threaded needles. "Amara, my daughter." "Mama Ngozi," Amara said, kneeling. "Please tell my husband how we know each other." The woman glanced at Marcus, her smile thinning. "Ah, the great man who saved our Amara from poverty." Heat crept up Marcus's neck. "This girl," Mama Ngozi continued, patting Amara's hand, "paid my daughter's school fees for 3 years. Covered my surgery. She comes here to check on us, not to show off." Another vendor stepped forward. "She funded my training, sir. Now I employ 4 people." More voices followed. Hospital bills paid. Tuition covered. A community center quietly built. "Everyone here knew who I was," Amara said gently, "except you, because you never asked." Something fractured inside Marcus. Amara opened a small notebook. "Your grandmother once told me of a tradition from your village. 3 tasks before sunrise. Complete them with sincerity and you prove your worth." "Amara, I." "Task 1, she said, placing a basket of ground nuts in his hands. "Sell these. Earn exactly 5,000 naira, the amount you once loaned me." Marcus stared at the basket. No names, no influence, just you and the market. She checked her watch. 2 hours. Marcus had negotiated million-naira contracts in air-conditioned boardrooms. He had never felt more lost. Groundnut! Fresh groundnut! His voice was swallowed by the chaos of the market. An hour passed. He sold 12 cups for 400 naira. Women haggled mercilessly. Children ran off without paying. A dog knocked over his basket, scattering nuts everywhere. A young vendor girl, maybe 16, watched him struggle. Finally, she approached. "Uncle, you're doing it wrong. Come, sit here. Let me show you." She taught him the rhythm, the calls, the measurements, the gentle banter that turned browsers into buyers. "Everyone here is fighting to survive, Uncle. You have to make them feel like they're winning, even when they pay full price." By the time Amara returned, Marcus had sold everything. He handed her the crumpled Naira notes, earned through 2 hours of humility. She counted silently. 5,000 exactly. Task 1 complete. Task 2 brought Marcus to a community kitchen where dozens of children waited for breakfast. Amara handed him an apron. "Serve them. No cameras, no recognition. No one here cares that you're Marcus Okonkwo, businessman. You're just another pair of hands." For 3 hours, Marcus dished rice and stew, wiped spills, cleaned tables. The children were loud, messy, joyful. Some wore shoes, others were barefoot. All of them were hungry. An elderly man working beside him noticed his expensive watch. "You're not from here." "No, sir." "But you know Mama Amara?" The old man smiled. "That woman is an angel. Every day this kitchen feeds 200 children. Some are orphans, some have parents too poor to feed them. Mama Amara built this place, stocks it, asks nothing in return." Marcus looked through the serving window and saw Amara sitting with a group of children, helping them with homework, laughing at their jokes. This was what she did while he thought she was just at home. "Task 2 complete," Amara said when the last child had been fed. The sun climbed higher. Dawn was nearing its end. "Task 3, Amara's voice trembled slightly, "is the hardest." She led him to a quiet corner of the market, away from the crowds. They sat on wooden crates facing each other like strangers. "Tell me one thing you love about me," she said, "that has nothing to do with how I look, what I cook, what I give you, or how I serve you. One thing about Amara the person, the woman, the soul you married." Marcus opened his mouth. Nothing came out. He tried again, searching through 5 years of memories. Every compliment he had ever given her was shallow. Her beauty, her domestic skills, her obedience. He had never looked deeper, never cared to. Amara's eyes filled with tears. "You can't answer, can you? I need time to think." 5 years wasn't enough time. A tear rolled down her cheek. "You see it now, Marcus? You married a mirror that reflected what you wanted. You never saw me at all." Marcus sat frozen as her tears fell silently. Around them, the market buzzed with life, but in their small corner, time seemed to stop. "Say something," Amara whispered, "anything true." Marcus's throat constricted. Every prepared speech dissolved on his tongue. "I can't," he said at last. "I can't answer because I never knew you well enough to love the real you." Amara closed her eyes as if his honesty hurt more than silence. "Every day," Marcus continued, "you tried to share yourself with me. Your dreams, your fears, your past. I interrupted, changed the subject, told you to focus on dinner." He laughed bitterly. "I thought you were boring because you weren't talking about things that served me." A shadow fell across them. An elderly woman stood before them, wrapped in traditional cloth, her face carved with age and wisdom. 3 elders stood behind her. "Mama Efe," Amara rose, wiping her tears. "You came. You called me my daughter." Mama Efe's eyes shifted to Marcus. "So this is the husband who sees with closed eyes." "Grandmother, sit." Her voice was gentle but absolute. The elders formed a circle. Mama Efe placed a kola nut on a wooden plate between Marcus and Amara. "Do you know the ritual of truth?" Marcus shook his head. "If you speak lies, your mouth will turn bitter. If you speak truth, you will taste sweetness. But if you cannot speak truth, you must remain silent about love forever." She split the kola nut and handed a piece to Marcus. "Speak. Tell your wife why you married her." Marcus looked at Amara, really looked. "I married you," he said slowly, "because you made me feel powerful." He continued despite the pain. "I loved how you needed me. I built my life trying to prove I mattered, but when I met you, I felt like a hero." His voice broke. "I didn't marry you for who you were. I married you for who I felt like beside you." Tears streamed down his face. "I was afraid. Afraid you didn't need me. Afraid you were stronger than me." I am weak, he whispered. I kept you small so I could feel big. The cola nut tasted bitter as he swallowed. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I finally see what I lost, a partner, an equal, a friend. Mama Efe turned to Amara. What do you see? A man telling the truth, Amara said softly. But truth doesn't rebuild what's broken. Truth is the seed, Mama Efe said, not the harvest. Amara stood. I won't give him either, not yet. She removed her wedding ring and handed it to Mama Efe. Hold this for 6 months. She handed Marcus an address. We separate. You stay in the house. I move to my apartment. She gave him a list. You will volunteer every Saturday, attend therapy, visit your mother weekly, write your journey. And you? Marcus asked. I heal. I rediscover myself. I decide if I want marriage at all. In 6 months, Mama Efe said, you return here. If I fail? Marcus asked. Then we divorce, Amara said. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the same market corner. His designer clothes were gone. The past months had stripped him bare. Therapy had humbled him. Service had softened him. His mother's stories had strengthened him. And for the first time in his life, Marcus was learning how to see. And the writing. God, the writing. Pages and pages of realizations, apologies to himself, acknowledgments of how small he'd made everyone around him to feel big. He'd also made a difficult decision. He'd stepped back from Okonkwo Logistics, installing professional management, and started a small consulting firm helping struggling entrepreneurs, especially women, build their businesses. The pay was less, the recognition was minimal, but the fulfillment was real. Marcus heard footsteps and turned. Amara approached, and his breath caught. She looked radiant, not because of her clothes or makeup, but because of the lightness in her step, the peace in her eyes. These months apart had been good for her, too. Hello, Marcus. Her smile was cautious, but genuine. Hello, Amara. They sat on the same wooden crates, but this time the silence between them felt different. Not heavy with unspoken resentment, but comfortable with possibility. Tell me about your 6 months, she said. Marcus pulled out his journal, worn from constant use. I learned that I've been running from myself my entire life, building a persona, chasing success, controlling others, all to avoid facing the scared little boy who thought he wasn't enough. And now? Now I know I'm enough, with or without business success, with or without marriage, with or without you. He met her eyes, which is why I can finally say this truthfully. I would like to get to know you, Amara, not as my wife, not as my possession, but as a person I'm genuinely curious about, if you'll let me. Amara's eyes glistened. I'd like that too. Mama Effie appeared as if summoned by their honesty. She returned their wedding rings, placing them on the plate between them. The old marriage is dead, she declared. What you build now is yours to create. No expectations from society, no returning to old patterns. You are two free people choosing to explore connection. Neither of them reached for the rings. Instead, Marcus extended his hand. Would you like to get roasted corn with me? As friends, I'd like to hear about your work, your dreams, what makes you laugh. Amara's smile bloomed like sunrise. I'd love to. They met weekly at the market. Sometimes they talked for hours. Sometimes they worked side by side at the community kitchen. Marcus asked questions, real questions, and listened without interrupting. Amara shared her world, no longer hiding her brilliance. They disagreed sometimes. Marcus still had moments of ego. Amara still had walls to dismantle. But they talked through it as equals, as people committed to honest communication. One Saturday, as they served breakfast to children, Amara turned to Marcus. I've been thinking about something Mama Efe said, about planting new seeds. Marcus's heart raced, but he kept his voice calm. Oh? I'm not ready to be your wife again. Maybe I never will be. She paused. But I think I'd like to try being your partner in a new way, building something new, together. Marcus smiled, not the arrogant smile of a man who'd won, but the humble smile of someone grateful for grace. I'd like that very much. They didn't put the rings back on. Not that day, perhaps not ever in the same way. But as they walked through the market together, side by side, learning each other fresh, they discovered something more valuable than the marriage they'd lost. They discovered the possibility of building something real. Mama Efe watched them from her stall and smiled. The seed that breaks open in darkness, she whispered to the wind, is the only one that grows toward light. What did this story teach you about love, pride, and second chances? Have you ever had to rebuild a relationship from scratch? Drop your thoughts below and let us know what lessons you're taking from Marcus and Amara's journey. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories that touch the heart.